All right, this is the screencast for how to do nomenclature and write formulas for covalent compounds. Remember, ionic compounds was the previous screencast, and metals and nonmetals and polyatomic ions have their own set of rules, but covalent compounds or molecules have to have something different. We can't do the same system for them. The reason for that is because these are all nonmetals and they're all negatively charged. So you can't balance a negative and a negative. So we have to have some sort of a different way to figure out what the formula is, but also write the formulas and write the names for them. So here's some naming rules for you. The names of the elements are written in the order in which they appear in the formula. So if you're given like N and O, you would name nitrogen first before you named oxygen. So you just do it in the order that it's given. But in this case, we're going to use prefixes. So a prefix is going to tell you how many of each type of atom there are. So if you want to know the prefixes, they are also listed on the cheat sheet. There's a box around them that say prefixes. Mono is 1, di is 2, tri is 3, tetra is 4, so on and so forth. So the prefix will tell you how many atoms there are for each kind of element. They're also listed here. So these are kind of 1 through 10, the most common prefixes that we will use. So the next rule, if only one atom of a particular element is present in the molecule, the prefix mono is usually omitted from the first element. So when we're looking at something that might be like CO, instead of writing monocarbon monoxide, you don't use mono on the first element. You can use it on the second one, but not the first one. An example, carbon monoxide. So you don't say monocarbon monoxide. You would just say carbon monoxide. And mono means 1, so that's why you use the monoxide to show, or the mono, to show that you only have 1 oxygen. And then you still change the stem of the second element to "ide." So in this example, we have carbon bonded to oxygen, so I still change it to IDE. I just add a prefix to the front of it. And the first vowel in a prefix is often dropped before a vowel in the stem name, so we don't have like monooxide for 2 O's. You're going to drop the prefix, or you're going to drop that vowel if your nonmetal starts with a vowel. So just doing some practice naming these compounds. I want you to go through and see if you can use the prefixes to name them. Remember, you don't use mono on the first element, but you can use other prefixes on the first element. You just don't use mono. And changing the ending of the second one to IDE. So the number of atoms is denoted by the prefix. So how do you write the formula for these things then? If you can't balance charges, you're going to be given a name. So you're going to use the prefixes in the names to determine the subscripts. So you just do it the opposite way. Nitrogen trichloride. Well, there's only 1 nitrogen, and tri means 3, so 3 chlorines, so NCl3. Diphosphorus pentoxide. Pentoxide. Di means 2, so I have 2 atoms of phosphorus, and pent means 5, so I have 5 atoms of oxygen. Since there's no charges to balance, they're all nonmetals, they're all negative in charge. This is the best system we can come up with. So I want you to go through and do these practice problems where you write out the formulas for them. Now, you might be asking yourself, so how do we know that it's nitrogen monoxide? Why can't it be nitrogen dioxide? I mean, it can be. We're not balancing charges. The only way to figure out what the actual formula is for that compound is to experimentally see what forms. And so when you are mixing nitrogen and oxygen together, you see what ratio forms, or what ratio of atoms produces the most yield. We're going to do a lab where you're going to see us make some covalent compounds, and you're going to figure out what the formula is based on which one you get the most of. So you have to experimentally find these, but once you figure out which one is the highest ratio, then you know the formula for it, and then you can write the name.